Hey, peace and assalamu alaikum, everybody. Mumtahana here. Welcome to my channel. If you've never been here before, if you've come back, thank you for giving the sister another chance. So, today I want to talk to women in particular who are thinking of becoming Muslim or who have decided to become Muslim. If you find any benefit in this, please click like, subscribe, and share it so it can help benefit other people. I am talking to the women in particular because I'm a woman and I have been Muslim for a very, very long time, my whole life. And in July, inshallah, I will be 50 years old. And so I've seen a whole lot of stuff when it comes to sisters, Muslimas, and especially new shahadas. And also, Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. It has been for quite a while. And women are the ones who are filling up those ranks quicker than, men. And also, a whole lot of them are white women, believe it or not. So, I really want to just kind of kick it with you sisters a little bit, or to you sisters a little bit. And, absolutely comment below. Tell me what you think about what I'm saying. Tell me, ask any questions if you have any. I'll try to answer them if I can. If not, I will try to, steer you in the right direction. But first and foremost, before taking Shahada, I would say be sure you're taking Shahada for you. A lot of women are in relationships with Muslim men, and the Muslim men will promise marriage to them, but it's like, but you gotta take Shahada first. Like, it's okay, you're good enough to lay with and do all these things with, but you have to take Shahada in order for them to marry you. And yes, Quran says that the Muslim men should marry believing women. There's parts that say, it can be Christian women or Jewish women, and those are actual Christian women and actual Jewish women, or it would be better to say Hebrew women who actually follow the scriptures. I don't know if we got so many of those nowadays, but that's what we're talking about. But then in Surah Al-Mumtahana, which is what my mom named me after, that surah, which is the 60th chapter in the Quran, it's made clear that men are to marry believing women. So what happens a lot of the time is, the women, they love these men, and it's hard as heck to get a man to marry you these days. It seems that they're like, all right, I'll take Shahada. That's easy. I believe in one God, whatever. And so they take Shahada, not understanding what they're getting themselves into. And also, oftentimes, the marriage that they're getting is not recognizable necessarily under American law. Now, I say necessarily because some places do, in fact, recognize Islamic marriages to a degree. And so, men will marry you in the masjid, but, that's the masjid. So all the benefits that come with being married through the law is not the same. So say if, I'll just throw some hypotheticals out there. Say if his family is not Muslim, or his mother in particular, his parents or the authoritative figures of the family, the matriarch, the patriarch, are not Muslim. They ain't raised him to be Muslim. They believe in Christianity. They believe that, they just ain't really down with Islam like that. It's like, yeah, I respect your wishes while you're here, but now you're dead. I'm going to give you the burial and the rights that I believe are going to get you, my child, who I love dearly, into heaven. Ain't got nothing to do with no Islam. It's Jesus. So You and he could have been married a gazillion years, but if you have no rights over him through the law, those parents, that family, can bury that man any kind of way they want to. Trust and believe, I've seen it. Also, if y'all built wealth together, especially if like everything is in his name, you really don't have any rights to that by law, like you would just his common law wife. Now I don't know if some states may be different, but I'm telling you, this is the real deal. So yeah, it's those things. But like I said, like I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and I remember reading once or twice, like one or two incidences where a couple got married and they got divorced soon after, and she was promised such and such amount for her dowry and he didn't want to pay it, and they were like, you owe her that money, y'all got a contract. So there are some benefits, of course. And when you're getting married, when you're Muslim, when your goal is to please the Creator, you don't necessarily be worrying about all of that. But the fact is, Islam is run on contracts and in like a business-like, attitude. So it's very important, especially if you have children. You want to be able to protect your children. You don't want, his sister who ain't never liked you in the first place coming and getting that house, or his ex-wife who he was married to through the state come on to get that house or the business or what have you. You have to protect yourself. I'm telling you, you have to protect yourself. Don't be all caught up in the spiritual aspects of Islam and forget that you are a physical being in a physical world. This is the reality. These are the things you have to take care of. The Prophet ﷺ said to tie your camel and to live today as if you were going to die tomorrow. That's true. And this is why, wills are so incredibly important in Islam. We have to, handle those sorts of things. Child, this thing got me looking way fat. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, make sure you're taking Shahada for yourself. Don't get caught up in just the love thing, and try to secure yourself a state marriage. I'm telling you, you better listen to mama. What are the other things? Know this deen for yourself. Know this deen for yourself. First of all, the Quran makes it clear on so many occasions that it how do you say, it like points out that things are for the believing men and the believing women. I have this really good book called Muslim Women Warriors, and it talks about how different things in Islam that had become law was actually started because of women. And one of them is that when the revelations will come down to the Prophet ﷺ, it was like mentioning men all the time, and the sisters were like, excuse me, what about us? And so Allah started sending down the revelation as the believing men and the believing women. And that goes into something I'm going to say shortly, inshallah, pertaining to women in Islam. But so yeah, this theme is not for your husband to learn and then him teach it to you. This is for you to learn. It's your obligation. It is not the obligation of your imam. It's not the obligation of your husband, your son, none of that. We're talking about Quran here. We're talking about the Sunnah. We're talking about Islam, and this is across the board, irregardless of ethnicity, race, culture. If we are Muslim, this is what we gotta go with. Not our cultures. Not they're, like it or not, there are a whole lot of Muslim men out there who don't really have good intentions for Muslim women. They're just regular old dudes, you know what I mean? With a banging azar or a banging, jalabiyah or thoban. the banging smell goods, the banging Arabic, enunciation, but you're just a person. So stop getting all caught up in how a brother look and how a brother, kicking that bobo, because that's all it is. Stay focused on truth. Allah ain't tell us that we gotta be all, well, he looked the part. No, it ain't how it goes. How many women do you know who look the part but have like a not so good heart? It ain't different because it's a brother, like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we have to learn this thing for ourselves, because we will be, aside from the fact that we're going to be judged on that for ourselves, but the whole point of Islam is to give us a good and balanced life. You can't have a good and balanced life if you're only, relying on somebody else, even if it is your man. That's not how Islam is. That may be like aspects of Christianity or Judaism or something, but it's not Islam, yo. Don't take me to the streets. No, I'm playing. So yeah, learn this thing for yourself, and yeah. Let's see. Again, when it comes to our husbands, understand that they are our husbands. They are our partners. They are not like many Allahs or something, or many prophets. They are our partners. The Quran says that, it's not, marriage was given to us for us to live in tranquility with one another. It does not mean that he got all this crazy control over you because he is a man or your man or what have you. Yes, the Quran says that Allah put the husband a degree over his wife because he is her maintainer, but that our rights are similar. Take that. How many brothers are really maintaining the home? Like, we're out there doing stuff too. We're out there working. We're paying the bills. We're doing all this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that in the sense of disrespect your man or belittle him or something. That's whack. Don't do that. Because y'all are supposed to be partners. Why would you treat your partner in a way like that? But understand that he is not here and you're here. That's not how it goes. That might be, again, these other religions or theologies or what have you, but that's not Islam. That's the whole point of us becoming Muslim, no? Islam is liberation for women for a reason. It's not just like chit-chat talk that people say. It's the real deal. And you're not going to know that. You're not going to be a good Muslim. You're not going to be following the Sunnah appropriately if you're just like sitting back all meek and quiet. Again, there's so many things that just imagine if Aisha had kept her mouth closed or whatever. Khadija gave us at least a third of the hadith that we have now. What if she just sat back and wasn't doing nothing and saying anything? No, I don't talk. What is that? Like, Muslim women, we're strong. We ain't about that weak life, you know what I mean? We're respectful. We work to be balanced, but we are not rugs to be stepped upon. It just is not how it goes, y'all. Like, seriously. And the reality is, if you do not learn this deen for yourself, if you do not question your husband, Aisha used to question the Prophet himself. That was the Prophet, but it was her husband. You know what I mean? Like, this her man. If you don't question, if you just go for the bobo, then the reality is we have no one to blame but ourselves, because Allah gave us the tools. Allah gave us the scripture. We don't have to wait for our husbands. Like, yeah, sometimes you got to play the game. If you go to the imam with him, like, listen, we need some counseling, you might have to choose an imam that he ain't going to spaz out about, or that he actually has respect for, or something like that, if he doesn't just simply respect the deen and the Quran. But if you got to play a game, we women, we know we got to do that sometimes. But if we disregard what Allah has given us for our own protections, for the protection of ourselves, and by extension our family, our children and such, and our husbands, because we'll be helping them better themselves and making themselves better in the eyes of Allah. There's great penalty for husbands who mistreat their wives. That's just the truth. You know what I mean? That's Quran, that's Sunnah. So it's imperative that we learn this deen, and do remember that, because I know some brothers will accuse me of being anti-man and all that kind of thing, or even some imams who speak up for women and say the same types of things that I'm saying, they get bashed and everything. But the truth of it is, if I'm anti-men, then the Prophet ﷺ is anti-men, because he found it important enough 1,500 years ago almost to say to the brothers, one of the very last things that he said to the people in his last khutbah was to fear Allah in regards to your women, because they were treating women like trash back then too. Not all of them, of course, just like all of men are not doing that now today, but there is a big enough problem where it needs to be addressed, and women need to be told, don't do that. Don't allow that. Speak up for yourselves. You have to find your voice, and it's hard to do, especially if that is not who you are innately. It's very hard to do, but you just have to find that power, dig down deep, summon that Aisha up there. Aisha wasn't about that life, summon that Khadija spirit, that Fatima spirit, because one of the other things I'm going to say in a minute, I have to run out the car for a sec. I'm going to tell you something else. This is very big in this deen, but not the deen. Let me rephrase that. The way people practice the deen or live the deen, that, girl, so go for it. So the other thing is, sisters, do not fall for the okie doke, okay? Brothers will get you caught up in this idea that polygyny is a right to them, and therefore it is an obligation for you, that you have to go for it. That is not so. It's just not so. They have permission to do it. Remember, before Prophet Muhammad brought Islam back to the people, because it did not start with him, but when he brought it back to the people, they were having like 10, 15, whatever, how many kind of number wives. So in Islam, of course, the Prophet Islam had more than 4 wives too. There were reasons for that, but it was like, all right, let's scale this down some. So Quran says Allah permitted men in the Quran to have up to 4 wives at a time. And of course it goes on to say, which the brothers don't never like to hear this, and they be like, they ain't what it's saying in Arabic. It says right after that, if only you knew you'd have but one. Brothers seem to think that they can still, bring like their player-isms into the deen, because they could have 4 women. You can't just have 4 women. It's not like, ooh, I got more coochie the better. Then what it's about. You have to treat them equal. Now, sister, that don't mean that if he bought her a pair of shoes, he got to buy you a pair of shoes too. That's not what equal means. It means that you have to have the same fair treatment as that other wife, as he maintains for her. He can't have her like living like she's balling and you living in a shack or something like that. That is not permissible, because we are the handmaidens of Allah. Understand that. Women don't have this subhuman status in Islam. That's so annoying to me. We don't have this subhuman standard in Islam where it's like, oh, a man has a penis, so that makes him all great. Allah gave us the duty of bearing the children. That's huge. Everybody on this earth had to come through a woman, period. That is huge. It's on us to primarily, women are primarily the caretakers of the home and of the children and of education and so forth. Maybe not so much nowadays because, modernisms and stuff like that. But those are our duties as women. That's not taken lightly. Allah is not just like, you're the man, whatever you say. There are rules into place. There are rules to this game. You dig? Men don't just get to do whatever they want to. And of course, it's the same with polygyny. So there's a hadith. It was narrated by Abu Dawood, I believe. Inshallah, that's correct. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna try to remember to put it in the comments. I always forget to do the comment stuff down there. I mean, in the description box. But so Ali, who was the husband to Fatima, the Prophet Muhammad's daughter, he was also, they were also cousins. They were married, and he wanted to get another wife. She was not digging that, so she went to her daddy. That's right. The Prophet, we get caught up in all these titles and stuff like that. That was her daddy. That was his little girl. You know what I mean? And so, and remember, this is a family affair because this is his cousin. Ali is his cousin also. So she went to the Prophet. She was upset. She wasn't feeling all of that. So she went to him and told him that. He didn't tell her, like, listen, I know you feeling the way you are. You need to get your womanly jealousies in order. He didn't say that because that's a bunch of BS. He didn't say, like, well, that's what your husband said. You just got to do what your husband said. Do. You don't have no rights. That's his house. He didn't say none of that. What did he say? He went to Ali and said, listen, whatever hurts Fatima hurts me. And what did Ali say? Did Ali say, mashallah, I know you're the Prophet, but get out my business? He didn't say none of that. He didn't take the wife. You dig what I'm saying? So now either you're going to accept the fact that it is not an obligation for the woman to just accept another wife or whatever. A lot of the times the husband's side piece that he trying to justify or make right. So you either have to accept and deal with the fact that it's not an obligation for us to deal with that, or you have to say, well, the Prophet ain't always do what he was supposed to do Islamically, or like, what is it? A'udhu billah. Like, what is it? It is not an obligation for us. You can accept it if you want to. I wrote something not that long ago dealing with polygyny, and I was saying in it that polygyny, and I have a video on what I think about polygyny personally, but polygyny can be good for women for myriad reasons. I mean, there can be as many reasons as there are relationships, but sometimes men want to have sex and you just like, hey, get a wife. Or there may be, a woman, one of the first wife or previous wife or whatever, may want to go to school, and she wants to have some of her duties that she has to, have some help. Or there could be all kinds of things. It could be she know her husband keeps sweating her about a woman, or or she knows she's not satisfying to her husband, so she wants him to have somebody else, and she knows somebody else who she think will be a good fit for the family, what have you. I mean, that can be all kinds of things. But my point to you is, don't come into this one thinking that you have to accept it. You do not. Deal with these things up front, like seriously. And don't come into it. This is another thing a lot of brothers do. Listen, some people, again, might think I'm coming for brothers. I'm not. I'm coming to sisters. This is the reality. Somebody got to tell you. It's haram for us to sit back and let some dirt happen when we could have helped avoided it, period. But a lot of the times, brothers, first of all, they see new shahada women and girl, y'all are like fresh meat. So because a lot of brothers, they like to mold, as they say. They don't necessarily like Muslim women who know the deen, or who have been in the deen for a long time, or who will speak up for herself. All these kind of, this is a reality, y'all. It just is. Just a messenger, don't shoot me. But so they see new shahadas coming, and they kick all that sweetness that y'all like, that we like to hear, or that they, when you new shahada, you're looking at things very extremely optimistically. So you're not understanding that this is just a cat. He was just out here in the streets a minute ago. He could still be out in the streets of the Hawaii, but we come into this deen, we still have the same mentality. It takes time to change your thoughts, your heart, your ways. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the times these brothers will get new shahada women, and they got a wife that he probably is telling her that he has. A lot of time, like, what they gonna hide, because people have this idea about Islam that, oh, he can have all these wives, so it ain't not I can do about it. I have heard buku sisters who have even been in the deen for a long time, they still say this, they still believe this. That is not so. We are not these little puppets where they could just move us where, they want us to go, do what they want us to do. We are individuals, we are human, and if Allah is al-adl, the just, why on earth would you think it is just to treat another human being, another Muslim, like dirt? Or it's not. What do you think it's like going to get you to paradise because you're going through pain and crying and carrying on? There's a reason Allah listens to the weeping woman. And brothers need to beware. Y'all better check yourselves. But so anyway, yeah, that's what polygyny. That's how I move on. Oh no, let me not move on. Also, if you are in a polygynous relationship, sisters, please stay up on your gynecological checks. Where I'm from, again, there are a whole lot of Muslims in my area and across the board, not just black Muslims, not just black American Muslims, like everybody up in there. And there's a whole lot of these game playing things going on. That's why I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of this game stuff going on. And I said this before. I remember a brother was, I guess you call him so, trying to kick it to me or something. And he was all bragging about how, like, yeah, I used to have 4 wives, And he was bragging about it as if to tell, I don't know what he thought he was saying to me, like he's super Muslim or something. I don't know. But all I could see is, so you've been divorced 4 times? Yo, so we do all this running. Remember, divorce is accepted in Islam. It's it's allowed in Islam, but it's like the most hated thing by Allah. Well, one of the most hated things by Allah. So but what people do is they get married, they divorce. They get married, they divorce. You end up having like 9 marriages, you know what I'm saying? And so they're like going from this one, to that one. And people seem to have this idea where they're Muslim, so they can't have none. How do you know who this person has been with? Or like, who do you know who your wife has been with, and who those husbands or that husband, who they've been with before the deen and during the deen, and vice versa, the same for the husband. And so what happens, this is very, very real. You can check this out on your own. I want you to check out everything I ever say anyhow. But what happens is a lot of STDs get spread through the ummah. That's the real. I don't care if people are upset. I'm saying this on video. This is the realness. Ain't nowhere in Islam where it says we supposed to sit back and pretend things not happening, because it's not going to get better. It's going to keep happening. And so what's more important, the way we are viewed as a people, or the way we are as a people? So what happens is a lot, again, of STDs get spread. So people running around with syphilis, they're running around HIV, with AIDS, with all kinds of stuff. And a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people out there, and with porn being as it is, and it just being so easy to be able to get multiple partners, we are no different. We're just humans. We're just regular people, and we're not like these superhumans because we're Muslim, we took Shahada or something. We have a lot of the same issues, maybe most of the same issues within the Ummah now that non-Muslims have. And so you need to be aware of this. You can't just be popping up in a marriage or in a multi-marriage, a multi-person marriage, and thinking it's going to be all gravy all the time. It's just, that's not reality. We have to keep it real and keep it honest, I think, and keep it healthy. And we don't want to be having babies with all this stuff. And furthermore, even beyond just in general, it's not even just Islam, but we really do have to be aware, cognizant of who we are having children with, y'all. Like, seriously, because we're having babies with all types of issues that really could have been avoided. I am not one of those people who believe like, oh, you can't help who you fall in love with. That's just, to me, is ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous idea. One of the most ridiculous ideas I have ever heard of. Love is not just this entity that like, yeah, come over here with me. You can't do anything about it. We have to get out of just this romanticized idea of relationships, where we just gaga in love when we do any old kind of thing, and then 50% of those relationships don't work, they say. So we just have to be smart individuals. But moving on from that, another thing with maintenance, how I want to go about this. Maintenance in Islam, again, going back to something I said earlier about the Quran saying how a husband is a degree, not men, husbands are a degree over their wives because, they spend on them, they take care of them essentially, financially and stuff. And I said, this is actually not true these days all the time, most of the time probably, but understand, regardless as to what happens, Islam is Islam, period. Islam no change for us. You know what I'm saying? Just because we are a certain way don't mean like, oh, now Islam got to change. We don't like covering our hair. So it's like, well, you don't really have to cover your hair because, like, stop. Let's go back to the Quran. But so in regards to that, it is the husband's duty to maintain the family, and that don't mean she just get one pair of shoes every 5 years and all that kind of thing. Maintenance does not mean control. Understand that. Again, marriage in Islam is supposed to be a partnership. It's a partnership. It's not one is over the other. It shouldn't be like everything is a darn struggle. You know what I'm saying? She trying to elevate herself educationally, and it's like, nah, I'm the man, I said no, First of all, that helps the whole family. But anyway, so understand that maintenance is the man's responsibility. Maintenance is your right, therefore it's his obligation. You dig? So that doesn't mean that you cannot help him financially, paying the bills and stuff like that. But that is not his right for you to maintain him or maintain the house. Therefore, it's not an obligation for you. But if that's your partner, you know how we women do anyway. We're not just going to like see our man struggling and carrying on. Or if maintaining a home at a standard that you both, are comfortable with means that he would have to get a second job and you have income whatever kind of way, then of course you will want to help out your husband. But understand that it is sadaqah, is understood to be charity, and that's fine. Again, I mean, I'm one of those women who I'm like down by law type, and I certainly will help if that's what's needed to keep the family whole in peace, and help my husband not be so stressed, you know what I'm saying? But also understand that can go both ways. Like, he also, in following the sunnah, can also help around the home. That is not something that is only for women. We know this because the Prophet ﷺ used to do stuff around the house. You know what I mean? He would help clean up. He would mend his own clothes, wash his own clothes. It's not like a woman chore, if you will. So there's that. I'm looking at my notes, trying to stay on task and focused though, somewhat. And these are in no particular order if you have not noticed. Hygiene. Again, these are in no order, y'all. I was just jotting down stuff, trying to think what I could say to help. So, hygiene is very important to learn about hygiene in Islam, because Muslims love to smell good and look good and all that kind of thing. If you didn't know, I mean, with the internet and stuff, it's so easy to find out stuff now, alhamdulillah. But so when you urinate and defecate, we always, it's called istinja, is when we wash the private parts after we urinate and defecate. You want to keep that stuff clean down there, keep it smelling nice. And as women, us being internal, our reproductive and everything, our reproductive area and everything, we are very, very affected by things. I know if I eat too much bread or anything like that, child, I can't do it. My body just don't work like that. So, all kind of things will affect us. It will affect, excuse me, pardon me for saying this, but it will affect the way we smell, the way we taste, all sorts of things. It will affect, if we have discharge, if we don't, how it is, so far as thickness, color, again, odor, or, scent. It'll affect all of those things. And with istinja, that helps to get rid of that bacteria and things like that. And that's with defecation and urination, to wash yourselves. Also, shaving. Now, I'm not sure of what the actual rule is for shaving, but I know when I came up, the way I was taught for shaving is you will cut the hair down low, because I don't know, I know sisters be getting, not sisters, but women be getting these Brazilian waxes and stuff. Y'all crazy. But, and it's just like bare and everything. I don't know how that is. Maybe they don't have any issues, but I know in shaving the vagina, like bald, that is the worst feeling, when it has those little stubbles and it's like rubbing on your cloth and everything. That junk is annoying. So the way I was taught coming up is that you shave it down low, and then around the labia, right around the opening, like we would shave there. But it's to keep down the bacteria, trapping of bacteria. The same way under your arms, you shave under your arms. That's to keep down the bacteria, and keeping down the bacteria, or the trapping of the bacteria, keeps down the odor. Because again, you don't want to smell it funky down here. So those things, of course, again, everything affects us. So certainly watch what you eat and things like that. All those things are, how you say? Like, I think sometimes, like, the way we Muslims eat and behave, like, I'm not even saying, like, behaviors, like, outside and in the world or anything. I'm strictly talking about hygienic and, like, healthy living, the way we eat and stuff. I'll be like, I hope they don't think that this will be like the Sunnah, because if the Prophet ﷺ was here, he wouldn't be doing all this. I doubt very high. I'm 1,000% sure that the Prophet ﷺ would not be eating like McDonald's. or drinking, Kool-Aid and things like that we do, these artificial flavorings and stuff like that. I am certain, and my belief, I'm gonna change it up a little bit, that the Prophet ﷺ and them would probably have their own land, be growing their own food, raising their own cattle, sheep, everything, because me knowing the Prophet ﷺ and his peeps, they would not be living like this. So by extension, they more than likely would not have any diabetes, none of these issues that are plaguing the Ummah like they're plaguing everywhere else. It wouldn't even be. So if we truly want to follow the Sunnah, and I'm talking to myself first, even though I don't eat those types of things, but I'm still not super healthy. If we truly want to talk about following the Sunnah, we'll keep it real and follow the Sunnah. But anyway, I digress. So that's with the, washing of the vagina area, the private parts. With menses, there's a nice book that I have at home, but I haven't read it in 1,000 years. But it is by Dr. Bilal Phillips. And it's just called Menstruation. They probably I'm sure somebody somewhere probably has the book out since then, because this was written maybe in the 90s or something like that. But it's a really good book nonetheless, and it just goes over all these things dealing with menses, because sometimes when you have your menstruation, it is like you get confused. Like, you understand when it's on heavy, but when it first starts, sometimes you don't know, like, should I be making saliva right now? Like, am I? Or, at the end of it, because like there's no more red blood, but sometimes it could be like the dark red, like a brownish, or a discharge, or you won't have nothing all day, and then bang, you met ghusl, and it's like, man, come on now. So it's really good if you can find this book. Perhaps they have it on Amazon or something like that. But there are, again, rules to this thing. And so after you finish mincing, you have to make ghusl. So ghusl is a particular type of like a ceremony. We have a lot of ceremony in Islam, not like in native culture, but there's a lot of ceremonial, ritualistic type things. And so one of those is the ghusl, and there's a shower that you wash yourself all up with some soap, and you wash your hair all up, and then you rinse, and then you rinse with water 3 times. And you start with the wudu. You wash your hands, you wash your private parts. I'll do another video on that. But the ghusl, look it up. This is a really long video. So you make ghusl. I'm talking too fast. Then you make ghusl after you have sex. We would say a lot. After you have sex, you have to do that also, ritualistic bathing. And I'm gonna tell you, it can be frustrating when you just got your hair did and stuff like that. You don't necessarily have to, especially like if it's your wedding night and you looking fly, you got your hair done up nice, and then you gotta keep on going in there to make some ghusl. You be like, man. But you don't have to drench your hair then. You can just take some water, and it's still like, if you have textured hair like mine, as soon as some water hit it, it's gonna be frizz like a mug. But I got locks, so I'm good. But with the lock thing, and just people who have really thick hair, if you have like braids or whatever, like your natural hair braids and stuff, it can become a lot making ghusl like that. But what you going to? I mean, it's part of it. And of course, we make the ghusl when we are the hadith says at least once a week, but somehow we turned up doing it like before Juma on Fridays. I don't really know how that happened. Somebody does, I just don't. So yeah, that. All right, let me move on. So, new Shahada sisters, This may be obvious from all the rambling I've been doing, but it is extremely important, sisters. Know your prophet. Know him on your terms. Not, listen, I'm a womanist. You dig? So I'm gonna tell it to you, because I'm your sister. This is what I'm supposed to do. And not only that, I'm like some of y'all's elders up in here. Or elder. So I have to say this. But again, I alluded to it before. Your deen is a personal relationship with Allah. Period. It does not what your husband has to say about it, like how he views Allah, how he views Islam. That's his perspective. It got nothing to do with you. Again, this does not mean, for those of you who can't understand, it's just either this or that. Mashallah, if you want to have an attitude, have an attitude. But we are individuals. We have individual relationships with Allah. We will be judged individually. Therefore, what you believe Islam is and what you are to get from it, what you are to give to it, yes, there are prescribed ways of being, but there's a whole lot of gray area in there, because Allah knows we are individual. Allah created us in different tribes so we can get to know one another. That means we have different personalities, we have different histories, we have different perspectives, just our histories, our cultures, our familial cultures, like our immediate families, how we grew up, how we, the way we were raised, if we were hungry or not, if we were never hungry or not, just all these things, our education, where we went to school, the people we knew, whether we were nurtured or not, all sorts of things come into play to make us who we are. I don't have to tell you that. Therefore, why would we think that there's one way to be a Muslim? It's just not. It's absolutely ridiculous to even think that, in my opinion. So how our husbands may view Allah and their particular relationships with Allah has nothing to do with us. It's up to you to learn this deen for yourself. Again, I can't say that enough times, apparently, but it's up to you to learn this deen. And if you want to better yourself as a person, but if you want to have a leg to stand on in this ummah, I'm telling you, learn this deen, and you do so not just by the Quran. When the Prophet ﷺ left us, he left us with the Quran and the Sunnah, his Sunnah. Learn him. How did he behave? What is acceptable? Like, what should I expect from a husband? What should I expect from a father and a friend and a neighbor? How do you know these things? You look at him. And you look at the women that he rocks with. You know what I mean? These women had his back. I'm telling you, if you can get your hands on this book, inshallah, I am going to be starting a book too, because I'm a book junkie and I read like all the time, mashallah, or mostly listen to them because I'm like moving so much. But I think on this channel that I'm going to read some books, and particularly ones that are kind of hard to get to or whatever, or that I really dig. I might give a few chapters to maybe encourage others to get it too and read it, and maybe kind of like converse online about it. But so I think I'm going to, my intention, inshallah, is to read this book on my booktube channel. But Muslim Women Warriors, that book, if you thought that to be a Muslimah was to be all meek and quiet or any of that, this book will let you know. And it's backed up. It's talking about the sisters, our foremothers in the deen, so to say. The sisters who were there with the Prophet, who when brothers were scared They talk about all these famous battles that the prophet and them were in. Some of them brothers was scared and hot telling it off the field. The sisters were knocking them upside their heads. Get on out there. Or, just picking up their swords and going out there and getting busy. They weren't just these little... You got to remember, the prophet... when the prophet brought it back and all that kind of thing, like I said before, Islam, and he had the people down with him, and they weren't no little meek, timid, soft-skinned type people, the women or the men. You're talking about folks who couldn't eat. The Qurayshi made it where, because they were a powerful tribe, remember, and even though it was his tribe, they went about all this that he was talking. He was messing with their money, because they controlled the Kaaba, and people will come there during their travels with their caravans and stuff to pray to their statues and things like that. So Muhammad and them coming in talking about, nah, you can't be doing none of that, it's only about Allah. They were like, bruh, number one, you lucky your uncle's still living, but when he go, we got you. And so, they made it where nobody was allowed to sell food to them or anything. They couldn't trade or barter with them. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't even let it be known that they were messing with them at all. These people who were with the Prophet Muhammad were not built the way we built. I'm telling you, I know for a fact. Muslim wouldn't be down with him. It's easy to be with the Prophet when you don't have to really put nothing down, put anything on the table. But we're talking about people who were strong, who could take some hits, you know what I mean? When you talk about Sumail, who was the first person to die, for the cause, with the Prophet and them, you got to be strong for that. You have to be built a certain way, mentally and otherwise. So to believe that Muslim women are supposed to be these little weak, timid, yes, sir. What you want me to do, sir? That ain't us. Now, we're women, so we know how to be, nice and femme, and, you hungry, baby? What you want to eat? But don't get it twisted. You have to have that duality. Come on, y'all. Let's be real. So learn who your prophet was as a person, and within who he was as a person, who he was with, who he likes, who he loves, I guess I could say after Khadijah, or, besides, or whatever. I don't want to say she was number 2, anything like that. But Aisha, he was crazy over. Aisha was not some little meek, timid, quiet little girl over there in the corner, That's just not how she was. So that lets you know what kind of women he loved. He was crazy about her. Khadijah, that tells you what kind of women he was all about. He loved them strong chicks, you know what I mean? He didn't want somebody who would just be like, yes, daddy, whatever you say. That's just not how he was. So, brothers, if y'all want to be, following the Sunnah, step up your man game. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Know the Prophet. Know the people he rocked with, especially the Muslims, because that's who you get to, They will inspire you, honey. And also Umar. I know there's a hadith that my father used to love to always bring up. And it was, I have to look it up to find where it is, so I can hopefully put it in the description bar so you can look at it yourself. But so everybody talks about how Umar was this vicious kind, the devil used to, Shaitan used to cross the street when he saw him coming. That was the young Umar. The older, wiser Umar was very even kill, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't just bopping cats in the face. Thinking, these thug dudes or whatever, these street cats you might know. They might, even after they take Shahada, or if they were born Muslim, you know what I mean? We are who we are. We are products of our environment. So, when they're young, They might knock somebody in the jaw real fast, knock them out, and be like, now what? But as they start growing, maturing, learning, they start to be, it doesn't mean that they can't still knock somebody out, but they just ain't about that life no more. It's like, all right, how can we do this quietly? You know? So I can go back in the house. My wife made these banging biscuits. I want to go eat. You know? So he was different when he grew older. And so, my dad used to love to tell this hadith about this this brother came to Umar to his home, and he wanted to like complain about his wife, get some advice, you know, how I'm gonna handle this, you know. So he walks up to Umar's home, and then he hears his wife when they're blasting him out, and he's like, this joke going through the same thing I'm going through, whatever, like he bugging, you know. So he turns to walk away, and Umar sees him, and he's like, hey, what you need? And he's like, never mind, you know, your wife yelling at you too. And I think he says something, don't quote me, he says something to the effect of like, you know, like, well, she can get that. Like, she do all this stuff around the house. She gonna get stressed sometimes and get on her nerves a little bit. It's all good. Like, it's not the end of the world too, y'all. You know what I'm saying? But that hadith makes me laugh. My father used to like to tell it for whatever reason. Oh, because my stepmother used to blast him out sometimes. My father is one of them cats who can knock somebody out, and he's just like, I know, babe. I know. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot to learn from the old heads, from the brothers who, again, used to rock with the prophet and who he rocked with. All right, let me move on. Golly, this is a long video. So I said all that, blah, blah, blah. Watch. First of all, study much. Especially, one of the things I love about new shahadas is that when people take shahada, they are so hungry for this deen and for the knowledge, and they just suck it all up. It's like so dope because it reminds me like when I was youngin', be getting it in. Because like I said, I was born Muslim, but when I hit 16 is when I started saying like, I want to learn this deen for myself. And so I used to be up in there reading. And it's so important to do that. But please be sure to read books from reputable folks. It's so crazy to me, like being Muslim, like all these things that you see online all day, every day, people just throwing stuff out there. There's never any like educational lineage. They don't ever say where they got this information from, where you can go on and find it yourself. There's like no resources or anything. And in Islam, that just ain't the case. They be like, this brother wrote the book, this was his teacher, that was that teacher's teacher, and this is that teacher's teacher, and so on and so forth. And so it's just crazy that that's like not a thing in mainstream reality. But just be, you know, try to get some sort of insight on where you get your information from, inshallah. And also remember that the Prophet said to seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. That don't mean that you only have to read Islamic books, number one. It doesn't mean you can only read Islamic books from such and such a sect or such and such a school of thought or what have you. You know, I'm not with Maliki's school of thought, but that doesn't mean that much of the things they say is not truth and accurate. It doesn't mean that there's nothing I can learn from them to, you know, elevate myself spiritually and to better my relationship with Allah. So I would suggest, don't get into all these ridiculous politics and cliques that goes on in this ummah. It just divides us, and the Quran tells us to hold on to the rope as one ummah. Stop all this foolishness. separation and stuff, because it's ridiculous, and I'm gonna let you know, you're gonna see a whole lot of it, from the masjid that you go to, like, you know, what they supposedly follow, to the little cliques within the masjid and stuff like that. Just hold tight. Make your dua, do your study, go to the masjid, be out, whatever you got to do to stay on task and on the path, okay? So do that. And also, I strongly suggest that when you listen to these scholars and imams and stuff on YouTube, or, you know, Halal Tube or whatever, get with people who show evidence, if you can get evidence, not just talk, but who show evidence of being fair, just, and balanced in regards to women, and just in general, but certainly to women. Don't allow anybody to put their ideas about the place of women into your spirit and make you think that Allah don't want the same for us as men or whoever. You know, again, we're just human. You're going to find the same old BS that you find everywhere else, but you just have to educate yourself enough to be able to hopefully weave through the foolishness and, you know, get to those peaceful, more, I'm looking out into the woods right now. So, and then right before it is like all this nicely cut grass. So that's what you want to get through all those woods and weeds and what do you call it, vines and stuff that I'm looking at, to get right on here to all that smoothness. You know what I'm saying? But it's gonna take some work, and it'll take you some trial and error. Mashallah. But keep your salat, your dua, your thickers up, and you'll be good, inshallah. Oh, keep a notebook. Child, I used to have so many notebooks. Like I said, when I was young and I was like really about that. I'm a serious note taker even now. I'm just such a note taker. And it's really good for me, because I like to organize my thoughts. Now I'm old, y'all. You might put it on your phone or something like that. I'm a pen and paper kind of girl. I like that type of thing. Even though I have a tablet, I do use my iPhone. Well, I'm looking down here and I'm on the iPhone. I do put like notes and stuff on my iPhone, but I'm a pen and paper type of girl. And do it how you need to do it. But definitely, I would say keep a notebook. Categorize them in a way that'll be easier for you to find things when you need them next. And there you go. More suggestions. Find you some good sisters to rock with if you can. Do not, like I said about the brothers earlier, do not get caught up in how somebody looks. Don't get caught up in how somebody speaks. It's easy to talk this Islam game, honey, but you'll know who a person is, who their heart is, as you start to be around them some. And I'm gonna tell you, there are a lot of women out there, because again, we're just human, who took shahada. There are a lot of people out there who do not have good intentions for you, period. And when I tell you, there are a lot of Muslims out here ready and willing to kick you to the side from your man. It's true. It happens all the time. It's true. So a lot of sisters don't mind being a second wife or whatever, because a lot of time they got in their head that they're going to become the best wife and you going to get the boot, and they're going to be that. First of all, it's crazy, because just like in the dunya, how they say the way you got him is the way you lose him. If he'll leave his wife who he been with before you, and probably for a long time, and been through some real stuff, you know, so far as struggle and things, if he'll leave her for you, why wouldn't he leave you for somebody else? Especially if you're not all what he thought you were cracked up to be, or, you know, all what it was it's not what he thought it was going to be, then he done messed up his, first marriage, you may not stand a snowball's chance in hell. So, but there are a whole lot of women who are out there ready and willing to put an axe in your back, and you be thinking, this your girl. Same things from the street. Don't come into this ding leaving everything that you learned in life. Don't. Because oftentimes they learned the same thing and they also took shahada. It don't mean that just went out the window. Again, it takes time to change who you are and how you are. And the first step is you got to want to be that. So keep your eyes and ears open. Find you some good sisters. I have some good sisters in my corner, especially Zainab. Hey Zainab. But Hafiza, let me see. I don't want to start naming people because then I'm gonna feel bad because I know I'm not gonna remember everybody. But suffice to say, Allah has given me some really good sisters in my life and brothers. I got some good Muslim male friends too. You know what I mean? Go back forever, Brother Dwayne. So yeah, just don't get goofy or excuse my terminology, but don't get dumb because you become Muslim. Don't. You're gonna need those skills. Blah blah blah. I said that. If you are not happy in life, but certainly if you are not happy in your relationship, seek counsel. We don't need permission to talk to the imam. What you think if you and your husband going through something, or he treats you some kind of way, like you feel he's not respecting you or whatever the case is, you think you're gonna go to your husband and be like, I want to go to the imam to seek counsel? He gonna raise hell and high water because he's not gonna want that. He's not gonna want you to go and get ammunition against him. You know what I mean? That is not a requirement. You can talk to the imam, seek counsel, and, get the imam. Again, sometimes it can be tricky because with the husbands in particular, wives, we tend to most often just fold. This is what he wanted, I'm gonna do it. If only just to keep peace in the house. But husbands, not so much. And it can, like most often, I would say, it can be tricky trying to get your husband to talk to the imam who he doesn't trust or he doesn't like or whatever. They got so much crazy stuff, child. But that doesn't mean that you can't seek counsel for yourself. Happy wife, happy life. That's true. That's what I taught my sons for, whenever they get married, anything. They take it too far, though. Sometimes I gotta bring them back in like, honey, that don't mean she get to do and say whatever she want. Like, come on. But definitely seek counsel and understand that although Allah hates divorce, there's a reason we have khulas, okay? And I know with my imam, Sheikh Ali Jabba, Imam Ali Jabba, he don't play those games like a lot of the brothers do, a lot of the imams, well, you gotta prove that we should give you a divorce. He's like, cool is your rights. If you want a divorce, you got a divorce. Like, what do you want me to do? You take this over the law. You know what I mean? And so we know that with the Prophet, again, if you can get this book, Muslim Women Warriors, this is so good. And the warriors part doesn't only mean on the battlefield. That's not what it means. But so many things became prescriptions for our way of life. This deen, this Maida, because of the women stepped up and were like, I ain't with this. Like, you gonna have to call Jibril, tell him, tell him this ain't right, ask him to talk to Allah, or something gotta happen here. And so a lot of things, came forth because of the women. And so you know, the prophet, I know in the book, in that particular book, I believe I read both of these in that book, and he gives you know, hadith and stuff to back things up. But so one time there was this sister, she and her husband, for whatever reason, he put his hand on her. She left that joker house and went and sat outside the prophet's house and just stayed there waiting. She didn't wake him up or anything. She just sat there. And so when he came out to offer Salatul Fajr, he saw her. He was like, huh? And so she told him, like, he put his hand on me. I want out of this. And he gave her a divorce. Then there's another sister, famously, there's another sister who saw her husband walking with another group of brothers, and she noticed how he kind of ugly, and she didn't want to be with him no more, and so the prophet gave her a divorce. You know, things like that. You know, if our husband is not sexually pleasing to us, if he's impotent, sex is huge in a relationship, and it's not just for the men, and it's not just for procreating. You know what I mean? If your husband, if whatever, again, please excuse me if some of you find this, you know, not too kosher for a sister to be saying on video, but I'm a realist. But if your man's size, you don't like his size, if you don't like his skills or lack thereof, if he's just like rough with you and you don't like roughness, if he, you know, whatever the case is, if you don't like having sex with your husband, you can go to seek a kula with your imam. We are not stuck, again, I said before, we are not this subhuman, we don't have this subhuman status in Islam as women. And ain't no more to say about that. I think I'm about done, y'all. Yeah, I mean, that was a lot, right? If there's anything else you want to know, just comment, ask me. If there's something you want to comment, to say to me, say it. Be nice, because I'm human also. And I'll just leave it at that. So inshallah, everyone have a wonderful day, inshallah. And welcome to this deen. Assalamu alaikum. So sisters, I am so sorry. I looked at the video from start to finish to make sure everything was copacetic, and I totally did not touch on a couple of major things that new shahada should know, especially if you are especially if you are looking to be married. I need you to know, I need you to hear me. Whether it is the imam or someone else, you must have a wali, a guardian, a wali or wakil. You have to have someone from your family, if he is Muslim, inshallah. But even if he's not Muslim, you can even talk to your imam. You can have like your father or whoever, and then have the imam like explaining things to him or whatever. The point of having a wali and a wakil as your guardian is they have to have, whoever that is, has to have something personally invested in you. What happens far too often is we get, first of all, we allow the man we're going to marry to choose for us, because a lot of times we just coming into this deen, we don't know anybody. We let him choose, and he chooses his boy, or he chooses the imam who essentially is his boy. Don't do that. This ain't got nothing to do with him. This is for your protection. And as I've said before, men, we love them. We love our husbands and everything, or the guys who we want to marry, but they are just men. They're just people. So don't put, if it was okay to just be like, oh, I trust him, almost every woman probably gonna trust the guy she's getting ready to marry. If that was the case, Allah wouldn't have put it in place that this is a criteria. We don't get to change it. It's what is prescribed in this deen. It's been prescribed for us. We are obligated to uphold the law. So do not use your man's friend. I'm going to repeat. Do not use your friend's man. Don't do it. That's not how it's done, and it's going to bite you in the bottom each and every time. Don't listen to me and see what happens. Don't play with me, girl. It's like, the other thing is dealing with dowry. I think I probably said this on another video. I was devastated when I first moved to Pennsylvania, to this area, and I found out that the dowry that these guys were paying the sisters up there was $37.50. I don't know where they got this number from to this day, but I was devastated. Again, it goes into learn this thing for yourself, please. But dude can't tell you what your dowry is going to be. He can't. You set your dowry. And don't sell yourself. Don't let them tell you, well, you ain't no virgin. You ain't no virgin either, daggone it. Don't have them tell you you're not a virgin, so you only get a certain amount. I remember back in like the 90s where I'm from, with some of the areas, because it's a huge, like, Ummah where I'm from. So there's different masjids, different mathabs, all that kind of thing. So, but I remember one area, the going dowry was $500 if she was a virgin. If y'all don't go ahead with this, I'm gonna be good. I've been good. But that's not how it goes. You decide what you want for your dowry. Now, you want to make it where, like brothers love bringing up how there was this sister back during the time of the Prophet Islam, and you know the brother didn't have any money, he was poor, so you know the Prophet was like, well, do you know the Quran, like, you know, teach you the Quran, whatever. That was not 2021 where you have enough money to buy the freshest car, the freshest stoves, the freshest sneakers, but you want to give the woman that you're supposed to marry $200. Stop playing games. And you, sisters, stop playing games with yourselves. You are worthy of more. Stop letting these guys play these little boy street games with you. Please. I would suggest to you, if you do not know this thing, to go and sit with the imam. I think everybody should be able, or should be almost required, I want to say, to go and seek counseling before marriage, in Islam and out Islam, because we sure as heck don't know what we're doing, apparently. But I would suggest to go and speak to the imam. Don't just speak to the sisters, because sisters have biases too, and you know what I'm saying? Go and get you some first-hand information from the imam. And by first-hand information, I mean, take you a notebook. Firstly, write down the questions and stuff you have, because once you're in there, you just lose all. I'm telling you. Especially if you ever have to go with your, just FYI, if you ever have to go to the imam for counseling with your husband after you're married, or if you're now married or whatever, always write down your points, because once you in there and you're emotional and he's emotional and you're crying and blaming and he's blaming and trying not to yell or whatever the case is, there's too much turmoil, there's too much tension. Write it down. I'm telling you, listen to an old head up in here. Write it down and then take that pad with you. But the same thing before marriage, when you go to talk to the imam, make sure that you write things down and have your notebook. Take notes. Do not be afraid to ask him, imam, could you please tell me where I can find it in the Quran? Ask for the chapter and the verse, so you can go and read it for yourself, and you'll have it on hand for when you need it. Ask him where that can be found in hadith. If he tells you like, oh, well, it ain't really hadith, it's just, can you give me some hadith? Give me something. Don't, I'm telling you, don't get all caught up on image and title, and don't. So many people be sweating imams, yo. It's just a job. It's just like a reverend. You know what I mean? It's just a job. They're just people. Learn these things for yourself. Do your research beforehand, inshallah. And if you're taking shahada and you're not with somebody who's Muslim or who's going to become Muslim too, or what have you, still do all this. Find all these things out beforehand. And also, if you do something that I think is really cool, I've seen here and there online, most questions to ask your intendant before you get married. So there's some I've seen, because I know years ago one of my sons was talking about getting married to this sister, and I printed it out. It was like 100 questions, and they were just really good. They were kind of like, they dealt with so many things, like, what do you think about having friends in the marriage, or like whatever. How many children do you want to have? Like, do you want an education? Deal with all of this beforehand. It will save you so much fitna in your home. I'm telling you, it will help your marriage be solid. Try your best. Do your best to be open and to be supportive for your mate to be open to, inshallah. So, like, y'all, as much as possible, these are my old head opinions. As much as possible, try to have a very strong communication oriented relationship with your partner. Do your very best to be able to talk and discuss things with one another without fear, without again, fitna. Like, fitna is drama and turmoil. Do your very best to have a peaceful and tranquil relationship that is free of all that drama, because you don't want it. And I'm sure all of us, when we get married, our expectation and our intention is to be there for the long haul, to last forever, and that doesn't just happen. It takes work, like lots of work on both parts. So do your very best, I would say, to have that, and it has to start before the marriage.